Have you ever felt torn between supporting your family and securing your own future? You want to help, but you're also wondering, am I going to be okay? So today we're going to talk about how you can shift from financial confusion to confidence. Hello everyone, I'm Kathy, owner of Lord Financial Coaching, and if you're ready to feel more confident and in control of your money, you're in the right place. I help women build clarity and confidence through coaching and workshops, and I share some simple tips to help you create lasting financial habits. Supporting your adult children or even your grandchildren, it can feel not only a physical and a mental weight on your shoulders, but it can also be an emotional weight on your shoulders, because you're going to have fears potentially about your own retirement readiness, but how do you say no to your children? And so feeling unsure but responsible, I think, is a good place to be, because hopefully you can go at organizing your finances with clarity and awareness. Recently, I was working with a client who is navigating exactly this. She wanted to continue to support her daughter and her granddaughter, helping her go back to college, really, build on her young adult life. But she really was unsure because she was ready to step away from work, but could she sustain her expenses for living not only for herself, but these other two individuals? And she was really overwhelmed and unclear. And so her challenge was really understanding it wasn't a lack of effort, because she had been paying her bills, she was setting aside money, she had money contributed into her retirement fund, but she didn't have clarity on how she could manage her expenses after retirement. So one of the things that we really worked on was she had unclear spending patterns. She really didn't know how much she was spending every month. And so we worked together to try to bring awareness to what was the emotional spending that she might have been doing compared to true living support that she was giving for her daughter and her granddaughter. And she had to bring awareness to understand there comes to be a point where you have to get clear on how much is giving too much to your children, because you may have to delay your retirement if you're have your finances under control. And this is really important. And if this sounds like you're not alone. There's a lot of individuals who are sandwiched between caring for their own parents and caring for giving support for their children. And so it's really important that if you're that individual, you get clarity. And so I'm going to break it out into 3 simple steps. The first one is, I mentioned earlier, you have got to get clear on your spending. You cannot go into retirement not knowing how much you're spending. You really shouldn't go into retirement thinking, I earn $60,000 while I'm working. I'll just earn $60,000 when I retire and everything's going to be okay. It's not. You may not have to retire with restriction, but you really do have to have awareness to your intentions around your spending, and you really have to declare your spending plan or your budget. You've really got to understand where your money is going, because as you go into retirement, there could be cyclical opportunities where you may not be able to afford everything. And I think it's important that you get clarity on what are the gotta-dos, what are the optional opportunities, as well as the flexible things. It's really important that you have that clarity on your spending plan. I think it's also important as you go into retirement that you understand what are your financial values. And by that, I mean, it sounds like if you're in this situation, you want to support your family. That's wonderful. That's great. But you have to make sure you set boundaries on what that support looks like. It cannot be a never-ending bank account. Hear me. It cannot be a never-ending bank account. You must put your mask on first as you go into retirement. I think it's so critical that you create solid, strong boundaries around your own financial security, prioritizing your own financial security compared to supporting others. And that's hard. As a mom, I can't imagine telling my children no, but it's so important as you go into retirement when your income is so much more restricted that you have those solid and strong boundaries and clarity around what you can and cannot support for your children and your family. And by that, I mean, it could also be your parents. let's be honest, you cannot be supporting yourself, supporting your children, and your parents, or maybe one of your parents. It's so important. The third step is building that retirement visibility. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to understand what is possible as you go into retirement. You have to understand what are the numbers that you have, whether it's retirement, Social Security, other income you might be bringing in. You must get visibility to the facts. No judgment on if it's small and it may not be enough. It's just you have to have awareness to the facts. And the main thing that I talk a lot about is you've got to replace fear of the unknown and fear of the future with informed decisions and knowledgeable data, factual data. It's really important that for you to get clarity, to replace your confusion, you have to know what your data is, because that's the only way you're going to build confidence in your potential retirement. Is you've gotten rid of any of that confusion and now you have facts. And so with that, let's talk about a transformation or perhaps an awareness. When you have greater confidence in your numbers, you start second guessing, what that number will be as you go into retirement. And hopefully it's going to reduce your stress. I think that's one of the important things to make sure that you're going into retirement. Retirement should not be stress-free by any means, but it should feel structured, organized, and planned, and very thoughtful. So I'm hoping that when you step away from employment, you're feeling empowered because you've got knowledge and awareness. Again, it's so important. When you retire, it's not about like winning the financial lottery. Like for many of us, it's not going to be about bringing clarity to think that, there's just going to be a windfall of money. But you have to go into it with the clarity of what your finances truly are, so that you can feel confident in the data. So again, speaking to my client, for her, she just had to make sure that when she was building what her retirement future looked like, she not only could be there to support her daughter and her granddaughter, but herself. And so I encourage you to think about that for yourself, is getting that understanding. It really begins with getting the clarity on your numbers and really understanding your priorities as you go into retirement. So the other thing I would encourage you is, I'm a big believer on reflection. And so maybe your first step as you think about what retirement could look like for you is a reflection question that goes like this: where do I need more clarity in my finances right now? Think about that. Maybe get a cup of coffee, go out, find a quiet space for reflection, and think about that. Where do I need more clarity in my finances right now? And so with that, if you're looking for some help on understanding your finances, feel free to comment. Or if you're interested, if this message resonated with you, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the alert, so you can always stay on top of when I share new content, so you don't miss future tips and conversations. And if you're ready for support on your own financial journey, I'd love to connect with you. There's a link where you can schedule a free consultation. See you next time.